Just over 10 years ago, in July of 2014, when fandom of various nerdy interests and the fan conventions for those fandoms were hitting critical mass, some folks decided to get in on the zeitgeist with a convention catered towards fandoms popular on the website Tumblr. Stuff like Doctor Who, Sherlock, Supernatural, and the Welcome to Night Vale podcast. It was initially called TumbleCon, but because it didn't actually have any official ties to Tumblr, just to be safe, they ended up changing the name to DashCon.
Oh, now everyone knows what we're talking about, the infamous DashCon.
So if it had gone well, no one would remember DashCon. But DashCon did not go well. Right off the bat, invited guest speakers started dropping out at the last minute after not being paid and finding out that their hotel expenses were not being covered. And just a few hours into day one, it turned out that the venue also hadn't been paid, resulting in organizers begging for $20,000 in donations from the event's 350 attendees so the show could continue.
This was pre-Fire Festival and used to be referred to as, well, Fire Festival. That's the music festival version of DashCon.
Fire Festival's worse.
I know.
So much worse.
But culturally, that was the way that you would express how bad something was.
Yes.
And then Firefest took over. And now, in fairness, this shit show was quaint, of course, compared to later, much more serious event fuck-ups like Fire Festival. But the way DashCon's series of debacles were documented live by attendees on social media was pretty novel at the time. And the fact that the people most betrayed by DashCon were hyper online made the story spread far and wide. Now, the defining moment of DashCon came when disappointed fans who'd waited hours for a canceled Welcome to Night Vale panel in reserved seats they paid for were offered as compensation, among other things, an extra hour with the ball pit. Yeah. So this news, along with the images of the tiny, empty ball pit sitting in the middle of a desolate convention floor.
It's an early liminal space.
Has remained iconic to this day and continues to serve as a visual metaphor for poor event planning.
But, fast forward 10 years and DashCon is becoming less of a cautionary tale for event planners and more of a blueprint for suckering people into buying tickets to an event that ends up sucking ass. But you still got their money.
Yeah.
We saw this with the infamous Willy's Chocolate Experience in Glasgow back in February, where families were lured by social media advertisements featuring AI-generated slop to the most low-effort, immersive experience imaginable, which featured no chocolate whatsoever. The insistence on using AI for everything, including the script, did at least give us the unknown, though.
That's true. It
wasn't a total loss.
It left its mark on the culture.
And now that sad Oompa Loompa, she's on Cameo.
Yeah, and she was even out in LA for a while.
Yeah.
They did a version out here, which I didn't see any negative stuff about, so it seems like everyone got kind of what they bargained for, which wasn't a lot.
I mean, the pitch was we're bringing that awful experience to LA and making you pay even more money for it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now, less than a year after that fiasco, it seems to have happened again.
Mr. President.
And hey, at least this time it wasn't children and their parents getting scammed. It was an event inspired by the Netflix series Bridgerton. So the victims here are mainly horny millennial women who had dressed to the nines in period-appropriate outfits to attend what they were told was a Bridgerton Ball.
Ooh!
Just like in the show. I cannot wait to attend my favorite gala event. And imagine just the idea.
It's going to be so glamorous.
Bouncing around in your head of finally getting to live out your wildest fantasies with like-minded individuals.
I'm always saying, I wish I lived in Bridgerton.
Yeah.
And now I can make that a reality at the Bridgerton Ball.
Yeah. So the event's website described it like this. Step into the enchanting world of the Regency era at the Detroit Bridgerton-themed ball. Join us for an evening of sophistication, grace, and historical charm. Experience a night like no other, filled with music, dance, and exquisite costumes. But that's not how it played out. And just like the ball pit photo from DashCon and the sad Oompa Loompa photo from Willy's Chocolate Experience, this photo here of well-dressed women just sitting and standing around looking at their phones has now entered the bad event canon.
Yeah, I mean, the dead giveaway was right there on the website. The Bridgerton-themed ball.
Look,
why would they say Bridgerton themed if this was an official Bridgerton event?
Details get in the way of hyping this up in your mind and anticipating it to be the greatest event of your life.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible.
We're all going to meet our husbands there.
That's right. Even though the gender ratio seems to have been heavily skewed female, as you'd expect.
Great place for
And the
dibs.
few men that were there with their wives and girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not that.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
It was her idea. Anyway, here's local Detroit outlet WXYZ. Fucking great, great
incredible.
handle.
Yeah.
A group of super fans of Netflix's hit show Bridgerton say they were left with a bad taste in their mouth after a themed event in Detroit turned out much different than what was advertised. The event was originally set to take place last month on August 25th, but was canceled just a few days before because of a venue issue. It was rescheduled for Sunday night. Dozens of people showed up to the historic Harmony Club dressed in ball gowns, expecting to be transported into a fantasy world similar to the show, but say they were instead served undercooked food, presented with little themed decor, and an exotic dancer and a stripper pole as entertainment. Honestly, I just want my money back, said Faye from Grosse Pointe as she stood outside the venue Sunday night in her costume.
Oh, you got food poisoning? Well, that's era specific.
You got to watch a stripper to work the pole.
Yeah.
You know, usually that costs you. Usually she expects you to throw some money at her, and it was covered.
Well, it continues. The way that it was described was this was going to be a Bridgerton evening. We were going to have classical music, good dinner. There was going to be a play, and they were going to pick Diamond of the Season. They were going to give away all these prizes, and we went in, and it was completely empty in there, said Amanda Sue Mathis as she stood outside of the Harmony Club. There's nothing going on. They have a pole in the middle of the dance floor. A stripper pole in the middle of the dance floor. Bridgerton would never.
I mean, I've never seen this show. But
not 1 second
I don't think there's any strippers in it. Like, it's not, it's obviously not like period accurate in many, many ways, but I don't think there's any stripping in it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a bit more demure than that.
Mathis says she drove in from Shelby Township and was really excited to get dressed up like the characters in one of her favorite shows. I mean, all of these dresses that you see on these beautiful women, we've all been getting them tailored to fit us. So we spent extra money on costumes, all of this beautiful beading, getting our hair done, our nails done for this to be the way that it is, said Mathis. It's heartbreaking. We were supposed to have this last month. They canceled it and we were like, okay. We waited. They rescheduled it to today. We got a limo for this, did all these things, and basically got an empty building.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, as a man, I do have to like step outside of my own experience to fully appreciate what a fucking disappointment this would have been. Because
a lot of work.
Women spend a lot of money, a lot of time, put in a lot of work for an event that's fancy. And they do all that fucking shit and they get there and it's just like a fucking hotel conference room.
It seems like the promoters could have, like, it seems like there's a bare minimum that could have been achieved here that would have allowed for people to at least have a tolerable time. Like, maybe at the very least hiring some live musicians to play violins and do the lighting right.
They hired one sad sack of shit to play violin, and that person was probably not having a good time. We're friends with a bunch of freaks. They go to these balls all the time and they're just at regular music venues. Yeah. Or, I mean, like, I feel like if you were doing something like this, especially in a city like Detroit that has like architecture and stuff, you wouldn't do this at like
a conference room?
Yeah, like a hotel that just looks like any hotel. Like there's houses probably, especially in Detroit where there's a lot of vacant real estate.
They have beautiful ornate theaters there, music venues there.
Yeah, I feel like the venue choice right off the bat, that's strike number one.
Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is, like, if you had it at like a venue, just a regular music venue there, and a lighting director that just like, all right, blue and white. Yeah. Okay, here, we'll just play music from the show. And that way everyone at least has a good time. But it seems like this failed on multiple levels.
I feel like if you want to throw a shitty event and fleece people for their money and not leave them disappointed, here's an idea. Maybe, I don't know if this has happened yet. I mean, I've seen some examples of it sort of, but like just explicitly do 2004 prom. It's happening again.
Yeah.
We're just literally going to do what prom was in the year 2004. You millennials, you're getting old. Your kids are making you sleepy, but now you can be transported back in time to when we all had a Nokia 3101 and we were grinding to literally the same music that is currently still being played at every bar.
I have two friends who have touring shows that do throwback parties.
Yeah. That's where the money's at, because it doesn't have
Like
to be
one's
good.
a 2010
You just need to
indie
get the
sleaze one,
You just need to get the music right.
and the other is the Shrek rave, and the Shrek rave would never.
Yeah. Well, Shrek Rave, I mean, they put in the effort.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a real...
The Shrek rave would never do
They
something
give people
like
their
this.
money's worth.
Anyways, over at the Hollywood Reporter, they've got a few testimonials from social media that they've gathered. My family and I just left the Detroit Bridgerton Ball, wrote one attendee on Reddit who posted several photos. It was absolutely horrendous. There was nowhere to sit. Although the venue was nice, the decor was sparse and extremely tacky. It wasn't even Bridgerton themed. We spent $400 on tickets for a complete BS experience. Besides the lackluster event itself, they promised a cash prize to the best dressed. Didn't happen. Then they'd choose a diamond of the season like they do in the show / other Bridgerton-inspired balls. Didn't happen. And had an itinerary with contradicting information, penned another on Twitter. No one asked for our tickets, so we just walked in, wrote another on Reddit. All attendees looked absolutely decked out, but there was zero direction. We essentially followed the crowd to the third floor where we saw local freaking vendors selling goods like we were at a local festival. After seeing people sitting on the floor in disappointment, my wife and I left.
I love the idea of just like, oh, we need vendors. So what do we got? Who's nearby? And it's just like...
People selling sunglasses and Zippo lighters?
Yeah, just like the tacky shit you see like at the flea market. And it just does not fit the Bridgerton theme at all. I like the idea that it never occurred to these event organizers that you need someone working the door, checking people's tickets. So all these people paid hundreds of dollars for an event that it turns out they could have just showed up and gotten in.
No, they were too busy dragging the thousands of dollars in gigantic money bags onto a waiting bus to leave.
Yeah. And then I'm sure the venue was like, hey, do you need chairs? How many chairs do you need? And they're like,
what?
I don't know. Everyone's pretty much probably going to be dancing the whole time. So no chairs. How about that? So anyway, we'll see if any legal action comes out of that whole shit show. But it seems like that kind of thing is definitely the trend now. So next time you see an Instagram ad for an event that caters specifically to your interests and promises the world, maybe think twice. I've gotten pretty lucky with this in LA for the most part. I'm going to one in a couple weeks. It's like a Halloween themed thing. But I am a little... I'm 50-50. Hopefully they prove me wrong. But I've been to some good Halloween-themed ones that I
went to the Shrek Rave once, and I was actually surprised at how much production went into it.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
I'd say like the biggest example of this kind of thing that's gotten really popular is there's like the Van Gogh experience.
Oh my God.
Which I narrowly avoided. My family bought tickets to it, and I just happened to like, I couldn't make it, so they all went, and they're like, yeah, no,
it's like a projection mapping of a room with Van Gogh stuff.
They just downloaded some JPEGs, and they're just projecting them all on the walls and stuff, and it's fucking bullshit.
There's one now.
There's like a Dali experience, or some other artist.
Yeah, there's one now that's just in a warehouse near downtown. It's like the Lionel Messi experience, and it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah. It seems like anything that has the word experience in it is like, that's a big red flag.
Stay away. Stay away.
But moving on now to our next story, a story of petty revenge gone way, way, way too far. Fantasy sports, particularly fantasy football, is one of the most popular ways for adult men to keep in contact with their old buddies as their lives get busier. But beyond the social aspect of it, some people do take that shit a bit too seriously. Mm-hmm. But no matter how annoying that one dude in your fantasy league is, be glad that he is not this guy. Because holy shit, here's the Philadelphia Inquirer.
What began as a feud in an online fantasy football league and an immature prank spawned an international investigation that ended Wednesday with a Philadelphia man pleading guilty to federal felony crimes. Matthew Gabriel, 25, told a federal judge he sent fake tips to authorities in Norway and Iowa, hoping to implicate a fellow member of his league after the two fell out in its online chat group. He anonymously warned that his rival, a student at the University of Iowa, planned to carry out a mass shooting at a concert and a department store in Oslo, where his adversary was studying abroad at the time. Gabriel provided investigators a detailed account of when the man was expected to arrive in the country and a description of his physical appearance, all information he had gleaned from the chat group. I just can't have random people dying on my conscience, Gabriel's August 2023 message to the Norwegian police security warned. That tip triggered what prosecutors described as a massive response from authorities across the Atlantic, involving more than 900 investigator hours over 5 days last year. It was just a practical joke, Gabriel's attorney,
It's a goof.
Lonnie Fish, said, my lawyer stinks. P.U., Lonnie Fish. Gabriel's attorney, Lonnie Fish, said Wednesday, it probably went a little further than it was meant to go.
Listen, we've all gone a little bit overboard with the pranks and the goofs.
I cannot imagine anything other than this guy wearing like a brown plaid suit and having stink lines coming off of him with slick back.
Lonnie Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a mess, but he's a pretty good lawyer.
Just papers hanging out of his briefcase.
He knows how to work the judge.
All right. It was a prank. Yeah, did it go a little too far? Sure.
Yeah, listen, there's really no defense in a case like this.
Yeah.
And a guy like Lonnie Fish, that's who you need. Lonnie Fish can put himself in the mind of a man
We've all been there.
who swats someone on the other side of the planet.
Your Honor, I'm sure you're involved in multiple fantasy leagues, right? No, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry for even bringing that up. I assume that you're not, of course.
So yeah, okay. We definitely do have a few questions here. Chief among them, what exactly did the victim say or do to Mr. Gabriel that triggered this kind of response?
Yeah.
And none of the reporting on the case answers that question, nor does it answer the question of whether these guys go back a bit or if they met in the fantasy league. What's their background?
It sounds like
they're just two randoms.
Yeah, because it says that he used the information gleaned from the fantasy football app.
Yeah, generally when I hear about fantasy leagues, it's like you and your friends, and there might be a couple people in there
that you don't know because the friend group is big.
But I've never heard of a fantasy league where it's just like a bunch of random people online who are like, let's do a fantasy league with a bunch of strangers.
It does get heated, and I've personally been in a situation where I'm like, shit, my bullying doesn't come off as just fun and playful with this person that I don't know.
Gotta be careful about that.
That's definitely happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But what is clear, though, is that Gabriel fucking hates the other guy. And in fact, he hates him so much that even when this revenge plan blew up in his face, he wasn't done. Back to the article. But the federal charges prosecutors filed against Gabriel in March weren't enough to halt the hostilities. 2 weeks after the case was filed, Gabriel sent another threat, this time to the University of Iowa, alleging his rival was planning to blow up the school. His actions were extremely disruptive and consumed significant law enforcement resources on 2 continents, diverting them from actual incidents and investigations. U.S. Attorney Jacqueline Romero said in a statement, "Hoax threats aren't a joke or protected speech. They are a crime." Gabriel, whom his lawyer described as a generally good kid.
Your Honor.
He's a good kid. And a blue-collar guy who likes football. Loves it even. Pleaded guilty Wednesday to 2 felony counts of transmitting interstate threats, each punishable by up to 5 years in prison.
So it's rare that we say this, but 5 years for essentially trying to get someone killed by the cops on one continent and then trying again on another continent after being caught the first time, it does not seem like an excessive sentence.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harsher than getting the sacco at the end of the season. Having to put a crudely themed license plate frame on your car or some nuts or something like that. This is a little bit worse.
I want to see the chat logs from within the league of how they dealt with the fallout of all this.
Yeah. We need to get...
Does Gabriel have mod privileges?
We need to get a FOIA king on this. He's a little bit busy right now,
yeah.
But anyways, the sentence kind of seems fair. This is a dangerous person.
This is an active, he didn't personally do anything violent, but this could have gone so fucking badly.
And it obviously has. It's been a little while since, at least that I'm aware of, I'm sure that it has happened, but as far as national news of a swatting thing ending up in death, that has happened, and it has resulted in much more severe punishments for the people that do them.
Can you imagine being the victim of this? This whole thing goes down.
You show up in Norway?
You show up in Norway and immediately are detained by the federal police.
Interpol's
and
there.
Treated like a terror suspect.
Yeah.
You go through that whole fucking ordeal. You come back, your study abroad semester ends, you're back at school. And it happens again. 2 weeks after the guy who did it, you're like, okay, well, the fucking FBI has charged him with crimes. So we can turn a page on this chapter. And it fucking happens again.
So unfortunately, though, thanks to a plea deal with prosecutors, he's actually only receiving 15 months of house arrest and 3 years of probation.
See, that's Mr. Fish doing his job.
You can't access fantasy football apps for 15 months. So even his own lawyer seemed a bit flabbergasted at his client's luck here, telling wow,
it worked.
It put me on the map. I'm actually pretty good at this. He told the press, "This guy is fortunate as hell to get house arrest. I wouldn't recommend anyone else do this and expect to get the same result.
But if you do, you know who to call.
Yeah, call the fish man.
Call the fish man.
But moving on now to the world of politics, and I guess let's just start with the worst of it.
Yeah, this is not good.
Mm-mm. Earlier this year, we found out that Republican governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, who at the time was a top contender for Trump's VP, proudly described taking her family's dog down to the gravel pit and executing it with a gun in a book that she wrote. And we, unfortunately, now have another story of dog murder from
Mr. President.
from a key GOP player. And this time it's the mastermind behind Project 2025. It's always the people you least suspect, right, everyone?
The guy who wrote Project 2025 is a sociopath who kills animals?
I'm shocked. Here's The Guardian.
Kevin Roberts, now the president of the Heritage Foundation, is alleged to have told colleagues and dinner guests that he killed a neighbor's pit bull around 2004 while he was working as a still relatively unknown history professor at New Mexico State University. My recollection of his account was that he was discussing in the hallway with various members of the faculty, including me, that a neighbor's dog had been barking pretty relentlessly and was, keeping the baby and probably the parents awake. And then he kind of lost it and took a shovel and killed the dog. End of problem, said Kenneth Hammond, who was chair of the university's history department at the time. Two other people, a professor and her spouse, recall hearing a similar account directly from Roberts at a dinner at his home. Three other professors also said they heard the account at the time from the colleagues who said they had heard it directly from Roberts. None recall Roberts, who worked at the university as an assistant professor from 2003 to 2005, ever saying that the dog he allegedly said he killed was actively threatening him or his family.
Just that it was annoying and probably keeping people away.
This is...
pretty good anecdote, right, everyone, at my dinner party?
Anyway, we should do that to immigrants, because they also annoy me. And the homeless. They're very annoying.
So, Jesus Christ. Roberts, of course, denied this when reached out about it. And despite multiple former colleagues corroborating the story.
Yeah, it's not really...
It was one of his favorite stories to tell.
It's one of those things, like, why would they lie about this? Why would
multiple people, yeah.
Why would multiple people be like, yeah, back like 20 years ago, I heard this fucking crazy shit.
Mm-hmm. Who could forget about the guy who killed a dog with a shovel?
It's a hell of an anecdote.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin.
So those former colleagues also say it was not something that they were inclined to inquire further about. So they don't know any further details. All right.
Okay,
slowly
cool.
backing out of the room.
I got office hours, so
yeah.
Anyway.
But he definitely told them unprompted that he killed the dog with a shovel because it barked too much. From the article, Marcia Weisiger, a colleague of Roberts at the time, who is now an environmental history professor at the University of Oregon, recalled being invited to dinner at Roberts' home with her husband, and Roberts telling both of them the story about how he had hit a neighbor's pit bull with a shovel and killed it. My husband and I were stunned. First of all, that he would do such a thing. And second of all, that he would tell us about it. If I did something horrific, I would not be telling my colleagues about it, she said. To make matters worse, she recalled Roberts saying that the neighbor in question also had puppies and that he had considered killing them too. Weisiger's husband, who asked not to be named, recalled Roberts saying he had complained about the dog to the police, who were not responsive, and that the dog sometimes got into his yard.
Okay. That's not good.
You
killed it, though.
How could it be worse than killing a dog? By threatening to kill that dog's puppies.
Yeah, that's just...
Again,
it says a lot about a person.
Slowly back out of the room.
You can extrapolate a lot about their worldview based on just that alone.
Certainly this guy won't go on to lead a foundation that writes arguably one of the worst documents ever written about American society and what his beliefs for it are.
Fucking butterfly effect. If just one person had said, hey, Kevin, that's fucked up. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, okay, ignore, let's move on.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe this guy could have been like, wait, what do you mean it's fucked up? Like, you can't kill people's dogs.
Oh.
That's too much.
I should probably seek help. And not from the Lord.
I think I have some problems that I need sorting out.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Guardian actually managed to track down Robert's neighbors at the time, and one of them was a pit bull breeder who says that around 2004, right during the brief period that Roberts lived next door, one of his dogs did in fact go missing. And it was obviously a distressing situation where they spent a lot of time looking for the dog to no avail. So that all lines up. But what's even crazier is that the neighbor doesn't seem to have any recollection of Roberts being confrontational as a neighbor. I mean, they don't make this clear, but it sounds like Roberts just went straight from being mad about a dog barking to murdering the dog and hiding the body without ever telling his neighbor that the barking bothered him. Just some real sicko shit.
They're taking the dogs. They're killing the dogs in New Mexico.
Especially like the timing. Like,
and they are apparently Christians.
Not a single record of a Haitian actually stealing someone's pet and killing
Multiple
it. But
cases of GOP members doing it.
Yeah. Maybe the call is coming from inside the house.
And of course, RFK eating one, and Mitt Romney driving with one on the roof of his car. Cat turd running over his. Cat turd's on a tear right now, believing that the hurricane wasn't real. It's very, very fun to see that play out online.
Anyway, this would be fucked up from anyone, but it's the guy behind the blueprint for America if Trump wins again. Mm-hmm. Whether Trump wants to admit it or not, this is the plan.
Yeah, and I really wish that mainstream journalists and talking heads would, instead of like, they should be, pushing him on the Project 2025 stuff, but he has his own version, and I think that's why he doesn't like the Project 2025 film. It's Agenda 47, and it mirrors a lot of the same points.
But I think that was just whipped up at the last minute when Project 2025 started getting more attention.
Way too toxic.
Because it's been at least a year since I started hearing people you got to look up Project 2025. But it's so silly because every GOP administration going back to at least Reagan, the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, they come up with the entire fucking agenda.
Yeah.
Every fucking judge that Trump appointed during his tenure was just handpicked by the Federalist Society because he's lazy and doesn't want to do the fucking work.
And Trump is a fucking moron. So yes, on some level, I believe that he hasn't read Project 2025. He doesn't need to. But the whole point is that he is the useful idiot for everyone else around him who is legitimately a fucking crazy person to use his presidency to push that agenda.
Yeah, because he's a lazy man.
Yes.
He doesn't want to actually think about any of this stuff. And so all of the sickos and sycophants that he surrounds himself with are just I don't know, call the Heritage Foundation. They've already got a plan drafted up. Let's just use whatever they got.
But yeah, moving on to some less disturbing political news. One of the multiple scandals we've been covering in this final stretch of the 2024 election is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s affair with political journalist Olivia Nuzzi. A Kennedy cheating on his wife, it's not out of the ordinary, especially this Kennedy. But a prominent political journalist risking it all to have phone sex with a very weird married man more than twice her age while herself being engaged to a fellow journalist. It is pretty fascinating.
And
I
want to know more.
We're not the only ones who think so. You know who else agrees? Donald Trump. Donald Trump agrees that this is hello.
He loves hot goss.
So here's the Daily Beast. Donald Trump has become obsessed with the sexting scandal surrounding his new ally, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and New York Magazine reporter Olivia Nuzzi, according to a report. The former president even called up the 70-year-old Kennedy, who's married to Curb Your Enthusiasm star Cheryl Hines, to ask if the bombshell reports about him and the 31-year-old journalist were true, and if the relationship ever went beyond the sending of demure nudes, according to Puck News. Did you? Maybe you should share some of those with me. Let me be
still
the
got
judge.
any of that on your phone? Also, how did you manage to do that? Because the only person I can, I'm working.
I have a 31-year-old of my own.
I've got my own 31-year-old, but she's, listen, I'd like to upgrade. I'll have what you're having. Because Laura Loomer, listen, I love her. She's got great attitude, but not so nice to look at. Olivia Nuzzi, much nicer to look at. Looks a lot like my daughter.
Her nudes, not very demure.
Not demure.
Continues. Kennedy denied the whole thing to Trump, a source with direct knowledge told the outlet. He said he hardly knows her. He said he met her once.
Nuzzi hardly knows. Damn it.
He said he met her one time. Trump was also apparently close to making a public statement about the alleged digital dalliance, having almost posted to Truth Social, his social media platform, "My condolences to Ryan Lizza," according to the Puck report. Lizza, a political journalist, ended his engagement to Nuzzi last month after learning of her relationship with Kennedy, according to Vanity Fair. So it sounds like this is still very much a game of he said, she said, with RFK denying everything but claiming Nuzzi was trying to seduce him, and Nuzzi saying it was very much an affair. And the lack of details in either version of the story leaves a lot of room for sources say stories to fill in the gaps. So here's one of the wilder examples of that from New York Post's page 6.
Yeah, and
grain of salt.
Another food warning.
Yeah. Yeah. Many warnings.
This is disgusting, not in the usual way, but it's just gross, to me at least. Despite claims that it was a casual affair or flirtation, Page 6 has learned that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and New York Magazine scribe Olivia Nuzzi had incredible FaceTime sex. Sources tell us that Nuzzi was at first disgusted by the Kennedy scion after he made a clumsy pass at her back in October, but after they began talking over text, he love-bombed her, and she quickly fell so madly in love with him that she lived a double life for nearly a year, sharing long calls, endless texts, and virtual sex with the former presidential candidate, all while engaged to her partner of almost a decade. In fact, multiple insiders say Nuzzi, even after Kennedy denied their affair in the press, and even after he implied that he might sue her, is still in love with him. And they explained that their first meeting, that infamous meeting where Nuzzi rode around in RFK's death machine.
Her words.
Filled with dogs so they could go on a hike. I guess during the hike, he tried to grab her hand at some point, which she was not into. She's like, ugh. And then later, afterwards, Kennedy sent her a text that was partially an apology, but also partially a second attempt at a pass, which seems to have worked this time. Persistence. It matters, gentlemen.
No, don't take that advice. Leave people alone.
Yeah. With the two, I guess, continuing to text from then on and getting increasingly intimate over those texts.
I do just want to say, like, this at a base level. All other emotions or whatever aside, at a base level, if you are a presidential candidate.
I'm going to try to fuck this reporter.
Not even that. As a presidential candidate, being like in your brain going, yeah, it's a good idea to have FaceTime sex with a journalist during a presidential campaign.
Smart.
Is insane.
It's also wild because, like, that report on him does not reflect well. Like, she wrote an article that he himself called a hit piece.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
This was just covered.
Maybe he used that as, like, emotional blackmail on her. Like, Olivia, you really hurt my feelings with that one. How are you going to make it up to me? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Thank goodness we have very strict revenge laws in place these days, because the last thing I want to see is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. cranking his hog on FaceTime.
Yeah, don't want it.
Nope.
Don't want to see it.
Mm-mm. But back to the article. He love-bombed her, said a source. He's done it to lots of women, claimed he can't live without them. He told Olivia they'd be together after the election. Another source said that while he may have been implying that they could have an in-person relationship after the election, he always made it quite clear that he would not leave Hines for her. A different source says that the Daily Beast alum told friends about a man she seemed bewitched by, without mentioning his name. Still, others say she was surprisingly open about the romance, while Kennedy boasted about it to his pals. We're told 3 gossipy media friends knew the details. We're told that at times Kennedy would suddenly cut off communication between the two, which seemed to make Nuzzi even more anxious for contact with him. He seemed to want to be in control, said a source. He'd set the rules for their interactions, and then of course he'd break them. A source says that during the periods where they were in contact, Olivia told multiple people that they told each other they loved each other over the phone every time they talked. They had, quote, incredible sex over FaceTime, according to another source, with Nuzzi noting to pals that the 70-year-old had impressive sexual stamina. God.
They're both sickos, but like,
they kind of deserve each other.
She's a real sicko.
Yeah, they both.
This is so weird. And I do love, like, we're getting multiple sides of this story, and a lot of it's like people obviously on her side, like, oh, he basically groomed her. It's like, bitch, you are 31 years old. Calm down. Oh, he love-bombed her. You are a national political reporter. What the fuck is going on here? So gross, disgusting, I hate it. I don't want to hear more, but I kind of do. But still fascinating.
There's only one more way this goes, and that's the penis picture.
No. I want more. I want to understand. This still it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't need to make sense. Look what happened with Martin Shkreli and that woman.
I mean, that one makes more sense than this. This just baffles me. I don't understand. And the real victim here is Donald Trump. All he wanted was a little bit of locker room talk from his new best friend, and he got nothing. He left him hanging.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know you got those pictures.
Show me just one nip.
I'll give you a position in the cabinet. Just send me one picture.
So yeah, that's sad. But moving on now to some local news, which is almost never good here in the City of Angels, and this is no exception. The phrase "to protect and serve," it's a slogan that police departments across the country use, despite doing very little protecting or serving. But the phrase actually originated right here with the LAPD. And here's a story of the LAPD going above and beyond the call of duty to do the exact opposite of protect and serve to an absurd degree, a cartoonish degree. And unfortunately, it seems our rivals to the north got the scoop on this story, so here's the San Francisco Gate. Damn it. An officer with the Los Angeles Police Department found out the hard way that you can't take metal near an MRI machine after their rifle flew out of their hands and became attached to the machine during a pot raid gone bad, according to a federal lawsuit filed last week. The incident's details were described in a lawsuit filed by the owners of a Los Angeles medical imaging center who alleged that their business was wrongly targeted by LAPD during a raid in October 2023. The lawsuit was first reported on by Law360.com.
So the most insane detail of this story, aside from the loaded rifle getting sucked into an MRI machine, is that this entire cannabis raid was triggered by the fact that the medical office's electricity use was abnormally high. Oh!
Gotta be grow lights. Also, I hope the LAPD don't see my power bill from the last 4 months.
A lot of AC.
They might raid me.
So compared to what exactly?
It's high. There's only one reason you'd be paying that much for electricity.
But the LAPD saw someone paying a lot for their energy bills, and that's all it took to send the SWAT team over, apparently.
Also, weed is legal.
Yeah. I mean,
obviously,
there are illegal grow operations.
You can't be running a grow operation in a place.
Why are they wasting so much money on policing
this is something where you maybe don't jump straight to the raid stage of things. You maybe look into it a little bit more. I don't know, knock on the door. Or just walk right in. It's a doctor's office.
Yeah.
Just walk right in and be
Even if it was a front.
Yeah.
It would at least be well, obviously they're not going to come out with guns immediately if it's a pot shop.
Just show up, be like, hey, just checking something out. And then use your nose to go like this. Because if they're running a fucking grow operation,
absolutely,
you'll know pretty quickly whether that's true or not.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, this raid was a shit show from its initial conception, and it only got worse. Officers raided the facility on October 18th, 2023, and detained the lone female employee while they searched the business, the lawsuit said. However, they didn't find a single cannabis plant and only saw a typical medical facility with rooms used for conducting x-rays, ultrasounds, CT scans, and MRIs, the owners said. The officers then released the employee and told her to call a manager, the lawsuit said, while they continued to wander around various rooms of the facility. The plaintiffs say the officers' behavior was nothing short of a disorganized circus with no apparent rules, procedures, or even a hint of coordination.
At one point, an officer walked into an MRI room, passed a sign warning that metal was prohibited inside, with his rifle dangling in his right hand with an unsecured strap, the lawsuit said. The MRI machine's magnetic force then allegedly sucked his rifle across the room, pinning it against the machine. MRI machines are tube-shaped scanners that use incredibly strong magnetic fields to create images of the brain, bones, joints, and other internal organs. An officer then allegedly pulled a sealed emergency release button that shut the MRI machine down, deactivating it, evaporating thousands of liters of helium gas, and damaging the machine in the process. The officer then grabbed his rifle and left the room, leaving behind a magazine filled with bullets on the office floor, according to the lawsuit. I just love, we've seen so many examples over the years of and if you've ever been near an MRI machine, they're not hiding the fact. There are big fucking signs on the door.
There's definitely something behind here. They've got warning signs up.
No metal. Absolutely no metal.
That's where they're going to hide all the weed.
Yeah.
And could you imagine the cop, he opens the door and oh my God, they've disarmed me. And then they just start shooting at the room.
All these signs saying no metal. That's a trick to make me leave my gun.
Yeah.
And then go in there. And then they got guns inside.
Buddy.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So that's lovely.
Yeah.
Great use of our taxes, our local taxes. Probably could have gone to some schools, but no. Spend it on
and now we have to
SEAL Team 6 raid.
And then we have to buy a new MRI machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they're cheap.
Nope. So we do have the headlines half of the episode coming right up, but first we got to let you know that this episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Do you need an MRI? Well, this sponsor is going to get you closer than ever. There are some things in life that are okay if it's just a total crapshoot, like trying out a new type of milk for your coffee, or impulse buying something that you saw in an Instagram ad, or rolling the dice on a new workout class. But finding the right doctor shouldn't be a total crapshoot. And with ZocDoc, it's not, because you've actually got more options than you even know.
ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. You can also see their actual appointment openings, choose a time that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit.
Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. After all of our years of navigating this country's dysfunctional healthcare system and our insurance system, we can say with full confidence that something like this would have saved us so much time over the years. But hey, it's finally here for you. So stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/weeklyweird to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That is ZocDoc.com/weeklyweird. ZocDoc.com/weeklyweird.
And this episode is sponsored by Factor. Cooler, milder days are finally coming. Fuel up for fall with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in this final stretch of the year thanks to their menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never-frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for?
With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious, from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up.
2 minutes. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/weeklyweird50 and use code weeklyweird50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code weeklyweird50 at factormeals.com/weeklyweird50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
All right, now we're getting into the craziest, weirdest, wildest headlines from around the world this week, starting with
some more gun news. Students jump in to help after school resource officer accidentally shoots himself.
Oh! Hey, look, who doesn't love a classic? Just like that video of the guy that's doing gun safety
So
in
here's
school.
how you do gun safety. Oh!
I almost
So that's
shot
what you
my dick
don't
off.
do. Yeah.
No, I'm good. Just gonna walk this off.
So we got fucking armed cops in every public school in this country, and that has, at this point, still to this day, not stopped a single mass shooting from happening.
Nor when like 20 or 30 cops show up does it stop.
Yeah, I just love the juxtaposition here where the school cop shoots himself and is seemingly helpless, and a bunch of fucking teenagers, they actually they were all trained in fucking CPR. They rigged up a tourniquet. They knew what they were doing.
Good.
They saved him.
If this was, there had to have been some look like it was like officer shot on
Officer
school
down.
campus. Because there was something recently where it was I think one of the subway things where the cop shot another cop.
Yeah, officer. Yeah,
there was an officer shot during an altercation.
Multiple occasions in NYC recently where they, to stop someone who skipped paying like $3 for a subway fare, started opening fire in a fucking subway terminal and injuring multiple innocent people, one of which was left brain dead over an unpaid fare. And in one of those cases, the cops, they were shooting so wildly that they shot another cop. And it was initially reported as like officer shot during a gunfire exchange.
And goes without saying, obviously, but people are getting shot for fare evasion while the mayor of the city is taking bribes from Turkey to the tune of over $100,000.
Also, there is a case to be made that whatever money you're spending to put all these extra cops down there so they can play Candy Crush all day and then shoot wildly at pedestrians, just take whatever you're spending on that and
make them
lower the fares, or just cover the people that aren't. There's a way to make this work out.
Yeah, I think someone ran the numbers and it was like for the amount that they're paying in overtime work for extra cops, it would cover all of the fares.
It's the same with all of the like homeless camp evacuations here in LA, where I'm like, just whatever you are spending on all the like fucking officer man hours to move these homeless people out of there so they can come back 2 weeks later, just take that money and I don't know, put it in a fucking fund to actually house them. I don't know. It's not my job to solve this. It's yours. You figure it out.
But moving on, WWE legend Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't believe in CTE. Sounds like someone with CTE would say so.
This is just out of any sport, even more than football, for a professional wrestler to say, I don't know, CTE sounds fake, is bonkers. They all have fucking CTE. Then this was apparently, it's part of this new Netflix documentary about Vince McMahon.
I haven't seen it yet.
So a lot of people are like, oh, but like, it's people are like, well, Netflix bought the rights to broadcast Raw. So they're obviously going to like acknowledge everything that's wrong, but they're not going to cover the really fucked up parts of it because now they're in business with the WWE. Anyway, they did a whole part on Chris Benoit, who annihilated his family and when they autopsied him, his brain was like the most fucking CTE'd brain they'd ever seen. And Stone Cold's just like, it's very strange. Maybe he just misspoke here, but he's just like, yeah, I mean, I had to stop wrestling because I kept hitting my head so much. But also, like, a lot of these guys, they're hitting their head so much that, like, that's like a you problem. You're not wrestling correctly. Like, you're doing a bad job out there. But anyway, CT, I don't fuck with that. I don't believe in it.
This sucks because he is one of, like, seems like a really good dude.
Yeah.
Has a pretty successful podcast, seems to be well liked. So this is a rare strike against him.
Yeah.
His like Instagram feed is just him feeding his chickens and playing with his cats.
He seems like, in terms of, iconic pro wrestlers, he's pretty all right compared to like, Hulk Hogan. But just very odd. Yeah, CT. No, Chris Benoit, he killed his wife and 7-year-old son because he just didn't like him. That's why he did it.
Ugh.
Argentina and Venezuela issue arrest warrants for each other's leaders.
Cool.
This is a cool escalation because, like, both of these countries, like, Argentina is this test case of, like, libertarianism. And
it's failing
and
horribly.
It's failing absolutely miserably. Another Stone Cold lock from Elon Musk, who was like...
Big things coming
for Argentina. Meanwhile, up in Venezuela, it's like the opposite. It's like the most socialist country in South America. And they obviously have a lot of problems of their own. Although a lot of them probably stem from the fact that they have U.S. sanctions that makes it much harder to succeed.
Yeah.
But they're going at it. There's these two failing countries they're going to arrest each other if they see each other. It's on site.
Yeah. Portland mayoral candidate addresses past of 150 parking and driving infractions. Well, not so easy to find a mayor who doesn't suck shit, does it?
I don't know.
Timeless headline.
I don't know if this woman's going to win, but that is, they're like, okay, so can we talk about the fact that you have 150 tickets? She's like, yeah, I know. It was, that's the past. That was then, this is now.
I have friends who I have no idea how they can afford to live because of how many parking tickets they get.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in certain neighborhoods of the city, worked in certain neighborhoods of the city where there were points where I was getting like one ticket a month, and it drove me fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Oh, I got an embarrassing story. I went to the movies the other night to see Beetlejuice, which was fine. It was a great movie. I liked it. But they have, you use an app now. You got to put in the...
some of those lots.
I went with a friend and I was like, I'll pay for the parking. And I put in the person next to them. It was 2 white cars that looked exactly the same. So I paid for someone else's parking for like 4 hours. It came back and there was a parking ticket.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That is my fault, obviously, but it's just like, if it was just the machine...
Hey, you paid it forward at least.
That person probably left immediately.
You paid it forward, but you didn't pay it here.
Yeah. Well, I learned my lesson.
Beetlejuice. Caffeinated ramen in a squeeze tube for one-handed slurping while video gaming. That's the headline. It's not a sentence. It's just a description of what it is.
Gamer fuel.
I think it's called like boom juice or something like that. No, that's not what it is. But
is this a Mr. Beast, KSI, Logan Paul type thing?
This is a Japan thing.
Oh, okay.
They take their gaming very seriously over there.
And their masturbation.
It looks like astronaut food. It's in like a metallic pouch. And
one-handed gaming. We need it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Mark Robinson will love it. It's disgusting. And not only is it ramen in a fucking tube that you suck out like a fucking Go-Gurt.
Yeah.
It's got caffeine in it, so
Great.
you can keep on gaming.
Goon all night.
You can go on.
Mark Robinson needs to release the pizza in a tube.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have pizza at any time.
You can already eat pizza with one hand, though.
Yeah, but it'd be...
I guess you can already eat ramen with one hand. It's just you have to like look at it. You got to take your eyes off the screen.
Whether that's a game or something else is up to you.
But pizza in a tube, I mean, I'd give it a shot.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
all the ingredients together taste good anyway.
They do.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all Italian food.
It's got all the ingredients you need. It's got tomatoes, very healthy,
So healthy.
It's got
protein.
It's got protein. It's got bread.
Yeah, electrolytes. Lots of electrolytes.
It's got a lot of electrolytes.
So many electrolytes.
It's got dairy if you're into that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the full balanced meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly nothing wrong with
all it needs is a little bit of caffeine.
No, certainly nothing wrong with pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When you got pizza in a tube, you can jack off anytime.
Mouse crawling out of meal forces plane to make early landing.
What? Come on. What? So what?
I mean,
landing the plane early for it? I mean, it's disgusting, but
I guess they have rules. They can't have rodents on planes because they chew through the wires and it can have very bad consequences.
Okay, but sure, whatever.
It's the rules. Rules are rules.
Yeah.
I'm more freaked out by just the idea of they're passing out food, and nowadays they often come in these takeout boxes. You open it up, and a fucking mouse jumps out, and you can't run. You're stuck in your seat.
Yeah. Well,
and it's just running around on the ground.
That's the thing is, it's
freaking out the whole plane.
Even this shit's mass produced now, so it's just a mouse the plant fucking jumped in there or something.
Yeah. God, there was another mouse story recently. Someone got a loaf of bread that just had a mouse encased in it,
By the way,
the
Eric Adams thing, the vinegar, and it was a trap that he had backed, and it was filled with, it was alcohol and vinegar or something, and so it drew the rats in, but then it would drown them, but it would drown them all together. So it was this rat soup after that was done with them.
God.
The man hates rats.
But speaking of which,
yeah,
rat birth control could soon roll out in New York City.
Hey, good.
Yeah,
legacy assured for Eric Adams.
I mean, if he does one thing that people can all agree on, it's the rat problem. This is though he got a little poison happy though those first couple of years.
Yeah.
And there was an owl, famous owl in Central Park, that died because it ate some fucking rat poison.
No, it got hit by a city bike.
So I was
birding in Central Park.
They're well, if that famous owl got killed by rat poison, this is probably a much bigger problem where birds are eating this rat poison. So maybe we should use birth control that only really works on rats.
Sure.
And and the great thing is this gives the female rats career opportunities. They don't just have to be moms now. Mm-hmm. They can forge their own path.
Yeah, get a little briefcase.
Yeah.
Go down to get
smash that rat ceiling.
Do you think RFK Jr. ever texted Olivia Nuzzi, let me see those hooters?
I'm a big bird guy. I don't want to think about any of that. What a great set of tits. Oh. Oh.
God.
So it was all cyber, but she saw him come. When we first reported on it, they're all the jokes about what it sounds like when RFK Jr. comes. Unfortunately, that doesn't apply here. But they actually did.
Happened, yeah.
They did have full on phone sex. She saw his O face. She heard it,
and still is I love this man.
That's the sound of a man.
Yeah. Why an Alaska island is using peanut butter and black lights to find a rat that might not exist.
This whole island.
A lot of rat news.
It's they're checking every doghouse, hen house, and whorehouse for this one rat, because this island doesn't have rats.
Oh, yeah.
There's fucking 100 people that live on this island.
I know a guy.
One person was sitting on their porch one day and saw a shape in the distance. And they're I think that might have been a rat. And,
now it's a huge
and they started
problem.
talking about it, and the authorities got wind of it, and they're if they did see a rat, it's code red. We got to stop this rat, because once the rats move in, they breed like crazy. They outbreed all the wild birds. Take all the food, the bird population collapses, and they have successfully eradicated rats on a number of these islands. But in this case, they don't even know, they have no confirmation that a rat is even there. It could have been fucking anything.
Well, it's good that they're on top of it.
I'd say so. It's probably the most exciting thing that's happened on this Alaskan island in a very long time.
The new season of True Detective.
Yeah.
We got a rat to find. Not the kind you're thinking about, the animal rat.
It is funny that Eric Adams hates rats so much when someone must have ratted him out.
Yeah, that's why
he was ratted out.
Thumbnail.
Yeah. Someone ratted out Eric Adams.
Yeah.
And that's why he hates rats, both human and rodent.
When I started as mayor, I said I was going to eradicate all the rats, and I meant it.
Mm-hmm.
All the rats.
Rats of all kinds. First polar bear spotted in Iceland since 2016 is shot dead by police.
That was a sad story from the beginning, too, because it floated there because of climate change.
Yeah, it was on a fucking iceberg just like
That
floating
broke away,
freely
yeah.
in the sea. And it's like, all right, where am I? I'm going to keep on doing bear stuff. And I see both sides of the story. Apparently the public in Iceland is furious because they're polar bears and they are not in great shape. And the government's just like, it would have cost too much money to like capture it and transport it to Greenland. And also polar bears are like the most dangerous animal on Earth.
Yeah.
This bear will fucking kill people. So we're just going to shoot it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's your first and last bear in a very long time.
Well, Chinese zoo admits to using dogs as fake pandas after one caught barking.
Dead giveaway. Pandas don't bark.
Mm.
You almost had me.
Yeah.
I was a little bit skeptical when the panda was sitting there panting with a big old tongue out and wagging its tail.
Doing a little paw thing, asking for treats.
Yeah. But I was like, hey, I've never seen a panda before. Maybe that's what they do. But then it started barking and I was like, wait a second. Hey, Siri, do pandas bark? I'm sorry, folks.
You really ruined it for everyone.
But the crazy thing is I feel like we see this exact headline at least once a year.
They keep doing it.
The Chinese zoos. I mean, the problem is...
This has to be like a local zoo or something.
I don't know. But it's always Chinese zoos. And I think part of it might be... I mean, if it is a zoo that does have pandas, the problem with pandas is... I've been to zoos with pandas multiple times, and I've still never seen a panda because they are very shy animals.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't come out. So they're like, here's the panda exhibit. And you're like, cool, big enclosure full of like bamboo.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Get out of here,
They
panda.
deserve to go extinct. Fuck these animals.
No, they're very beautiful and they deserve to live. And and we have a thing in place. It's the only thing keeping the world from killing itself is the panda diplomacy.
Yeah. It is, honestly, it's good.
This is the sacrifice that Chinese zoos have to make so that pandas can be shipped around the world.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Yeah.
a small price to pay for world peace.
All right, well, if for some reason you didn't get all the Eric Adams references on today's episode, you should check out News Dump. It'll come up in a second. But in the meantime, please like the video, leave a comment, talk about whatever
Hype the video.
Hype the video if that button's there. Who knows? Make sure you're subscribed. Leave a join, leave a thanks, leave whatever you want. Leave your cares at the door and watch our other videos over here. We got Eric Adams getting he's arraigned today now, so officially he has been captured.
He is going away for a long time.
Unless he goes away to Turkey, which, hey, man, that might happen too. Or Israel. Yeah. We also have bad news for bad dudes over there. Check both of those out, and we'll be back next week.
Bye-bye.